Welcome to DISRUPT23. Wow, this place filled up. I told them that Americans would get up at 8 o'clock in the morning. In Europe, we had to start this event at 9 o'clock because they have to drink like 14 espressos before they can get going. So thank you for being here early, and thank you for joining us here at Disrupt. All right, well, welcome to Nashville. Like the Drake song said, the whole team's here, the whole EUC family is here, and wonderful city to host this event. I got here early on Thursday. It was beautiful. This is the world headquarters for live music. It's also the world headquarters for healthcare. I think there's a lot of healthcare. This is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. I also found out it's the world headquarters for bachelorette parties. So if you go downtown, you'll see that. And I think this picture of Broadway was taken before COVID, because I assure you it does not look like this anymore. It's packed, and the economy is back downtown. So this is our sixth Disrupt. Thank you to those of you who have been with us from the very beginning, when we started humbly at the AMD headquarters in Texas. And we're just so glad to be here after a sort of unplanned 3-year intermission. It's great to be back, and I think this event has sort of doubled in size during that time, which should tell you something about what's going on in this space right now. We have an amazing week ahead of us, so much to learn from each other. There's so many people here. There's a lot of amazing innovation that's going to be announced right here on this stage. A number of companies are going to be, other than Igel, making big product announcements here today. So love the energy in this room. I would tell you, you cannot get this energy through a Zoom call. At least I can't. I believe humans are wired to interact like this. And this week is all about yes. And you're all Dr. Yes in my mind over the next couple days and over the next year. So people ask me, why do you do Disrupt? Why do you take on this crazy project of hosting Disrupt? And the answer is my mom. This is my mom last year on her 80th birthday. She celebrated her 81st birthday last week, and she taught first grade for 40 years. And one thing she always pounded into me was this idea of always leave things better than you found them. And one summer in middle school, I found out the hard way what she really meant by that. The school that we went to couldn't afford this field outside of the new school that they were building. And so she had this brilliant idea, and of course she prefaced any crazy idea that she had with that was brilliant, that we would raise money to fund this field by making crepes. So if you need a crepe recipe, let me know. We made thousands and thousands of crepes over that summer, and by fall we watched this beautiful new field go down, which kids still play on today. And really, that's what this event is all about, right? Finding a way to build a big, beautiful field, finding a way to bring this whole EUC space together and leave it better than we found it. I think everybody will agree the industry is in transition. It's an inflection point for this space, and this conversation is more important than ever, and I think that's why you're all here. We don't have 30,000 people in the room, but I think we have the most important people in the industry. And so I want to share with you what we're saying yes to in 2023 at Igel. We're saying yes to a whole lot of things. We are saying yes to ushering in this cloud PC era. And of course, you can't do it without great partnerships. And I'm very excited that Igel has some great new hardware partnerships. We have HP, Lenovo, and LG here. You're going to see them on the stage later this morning. So special thanks to Alex and Andy and PJ and the large teams from those companies that are here. We're also saying yes to aligning with the new cloud software group. Still got to used to saying that instead of saying Citrix. But we have the leaders from the cloud software group and the Citrix BU here. Hector and Sridhar, thank you for being here, and the rest of your teams. We're also saying yes to VMware, who's resetting around this apps on demand product, and you're going to see more about that. So thanks to Barath and Summit and Skip and Terry, who are here with the large team. We're also saying yes to the Microsoft innovation in this space, right? And their 2 first-party products of AVD and Windows 365. And of course, thanks to Scott Manchester, who's been a great friend and partner to Igel, and Christian that are here. And of course, we're also very excited for the first time to say yes to Imprivata and all the new security workflows that we're going to unleash together here. So for the first time ever, Imprivata is a sponsor here, and special thanks to their CTO, Wes, who's with us somewhere, and he'll be on the stage later today. We're also saying yes to our solution providers, who are more important than ever in this conversation, right? And so for the first time ever, we have solution providers represented in the expo hall. We have 9 of them. 3 of the CEOs from these great partners are going to come up on the stage. So thanks to Mike and Paul and Andy, who are going to be up here. And yeah, I think it's a time for us all to think about how the channel is going to participate in this inflection point. Of course, we're also saying yes to working with our 11,000 customers that we have at Igel. We have a customer experience team that's about a third of the company. Irfan is here, our SVP of customer experience. And of course, glad that so many of you love him. I'm sure he is a guy who's on 24/7 and great servant heart. He's here with his community and also with the education lounge. So make sure you check that out. I see Mike sitting right here with his great beard. You can't miss him. But yeah, we have some great things going on in customer experience, including espresso at their counter up there. So if you need a little pick-me-up, go talk to Irfan. He's got an undercover espresso machine under his counter under there. So of course, we're also saying yes to a game-changing new platform that we think is purpose-built for this moment in the industry right now, Cosmos. And you're going to hear from our CTO, Matthias Haas, who's here from Germany. It's a very special moment for us to reveal that for you. And of course, we're saying yes to all the things that I think you know and love about Igel, right? It's security, it's management, it's savings, it's performance. But most importantly, like Doug said, it's really about this community coming together for this conversation right now and collaborating over the next few days. So who's here? There's actually 42 sponsors. I got up at like 3 in the morning and walked around out there, and I could not believe the expo hall. It's amazing to me that the size of this and how this event has grown. That hall is about double the number of sponsors that we had last time when we were together here in this building in 2020. And the whole community is represented, right? We have software, we have hardware, we have the resellers. We got our 2 big distributors, Ingram and Arrow, that are here. And then we also have the user groups. And VMUG is here, the CUGC team is here, and the CUGC team is actually hosting an XL event. So if you don't get enough EUC in the next 3 days, stay for the after party on Thursday. And Chris Fleck, who's the Citrix fellow who runs Citrix Ready and the CTPs and the CUGC, a lot of acronyms there. He's right here in the front. You can't miss him with his beautiful shirt on. He's a Citrix fellow. If you want to stand up, everybody should recognize this guy. He's a treasure to the industry. Sitting right next to him is one of the original CTPs, Carl Webster, and I'm sure most of you in here know him or stole the script along the way from him. And I just have to say, look at these pants. If you could please stand up. Look at these yellow pants he's got on. Carl's actually retiring after, I think, 33 years? 34 years in EUC this year. He's going to spend his time in the service of the Lions. And yeah, special round of applause to this guy. I think if you took your shirt, Chris, and those pants, we'd really have something. So yeah, all right. Let me say one more thing about who's here, right? There's an amazing. It's more than just logos, right? This is the slide that really means something, right? It's the faces that you see on this slide, and it's the people and the relationships. And a core value to Igel is really building these personal relationships. So look around you. You're seeing I know you introduced yourself to each other, but these are the best and brightest in the EUC coming alongside you this week because they want you to succeed, right? And some of these people have come all the way around the world to share their stories, to give their insights, and there's over 41 breakout sessions here. There's 5 boot camps. And believe it or not, there's 92 individual unique speakers that are actually speaking here. one of the speakers who I want to call out, if you look around you, I bet you don't see too many females in this audience. I don't see too many out there. If you're a female in this room, stand up. We'll see exactly how many there are. Well, thank you. You're a rare breed in this industry, as you can see. And we have somebody very special who's devoted their life after selling their company to Citrix to really talking about this conversation in tech and women in tech, and that's Eva Helen. I don't know if Eva's here somewhere, but Eva is having 2 sessions. She's one of those 92 speakers, and she just recovered from some knee surgery, so we won't ask her to stand up. But thank you, Eva, for taking this on. Oh, there she is. She is standing up. Thank you, Eva. So yeah, I think, with the theme of my mom, all of these people have come with sort of a servant heart around leaving it better. And so thank you so much to the 92 people who are speaking here. So let's talk a little bit about the industry and what's going on in the world post-COVID. And I think the word that I like to use is hybrid. I'm sure you'll hear it a few times up here over the next few days. With hundreds of millions of people working from home and from anywhere, really, right? We've entered into this new era of hybrid cloud, hybrid apps, hybrid workers, and we're really seeing a blurring of the line of sort of knowledge workers and task workers. And I think one thing we can agree on is that all of these workers need great experiences, and they need mobile devices. And in many cases, they need devices that have screens and cameras and great peripherals, and they need a frictionless experience between their house, the coffee shop, and the office, right? And everything in between. And so, this is the challenge that I think all of us have to rise up and meet right now, and how do we do that? One of the things that Igel is really excited about is that on November 15th of last year, we exited the hardware business. Thank you. It was a big decision to exit the hardware business, but it was the right thing to do, right? Disrupting ourselves and walking away from the #1 position, which we held since 2006 for thin clients in Germany, but it was absolutely the right thing to do. So in 2023, really Igel's mission is about powering third-party devices, all these new devices that have screens that we just talked about, any form factor that users require, right? And so we're super excited to have, showcase some of them over here. You're gonna see later today, but these devices from HP, Lenovo, and LG that are shipping from the factory with Igel OS on them. And I can tell you that is not a small feat to pass all the specs and go through the process that Matthias's team has checked all those boxes, and so you're now able to get a frictionless experience with the Igel OS preloaded. So when you think about Igel and you think about this new era, what I want you to think about is that we are a bridge to this cloud PC era, right? And if you're a customer out there, we want to meet you where you are, and we want to help you in terms of making this transition, right? And our feeling is that this is the moment that you should be questioning the fat OS, right? This needs to be questioned. And Igel is this sort of just enough OS that's powerful, secure, easy to manage, and it's built for this moment. And I think we can be a catalyst to driving this new architecture to deliver apps and desktops. I want to put everybody in this room on notice. We are coming for the 500 million fat PCs that are sitting out there. And over the next decade, you should see tens of millions of these devices running Igel OS and powered on all kinds of different leading new form factors that I'm sure haven't even been invented yet. But it's the idea of Igel on any device, any protocol, anywhere. So how are we doing today in terms of innovation? Well, I'd like to believe that we did pretty well through COVID, and you're going to hear from some customers here in a few minutes. But in terms of the technology helping and really leading the way with our OS 11 and UMS 6, we believe these are best-in-class products. I think if you talk to Microsoft, Citrix, VMware, they would tell you that Igel is their most important Linux innovation partner. We have 2.4 million devices under management today, and we're really the default setting for the leading manufacturers of devices. And of course, customers, they love us for security, savings, performance. And I want to run a video just so you can hear a little bit of a taste of what some of the customers are saying about us.
Somebody were to break into this and steal this laptop, because thanks to Igel, thanks to Citrix, thanks to the virtualization concepts, they'd just be stealing the hardware. They would get no data from eBay.
We were looking for a solution that really helped with the management of devices. And when Igel came to us from a trusted partner, we said, okay, let's truly take a look at what's going there. After a few minutes, I had the leaders of those areas come knocking on my door to say how amazing this was. So being able to now manage what we considered end-of-life equipment, as well as newer thin clients, that was the reason why we made the choice to go with Igel.
Some of our hardware needed to be replaced, and they have a 2-year cycle for that. With Igel, we're able to deploy those devices again and giving them a second life, because using the Igel OS doesn't require the same resources as a Windows OS does. And instead of purchasing new hardware, we're able to invest that into the cloud and actually grow that environment as well.
We've converted thousands of devices through various acquisitions that we've done, and that's saved us in excess of £1 million that we'd have otherwise spent on purchasing hardware, because we've been able to reprovision equipment from installing the Igel OS on the device.
Definitely one of my favorite things when I hear customers say is we saved £1 million, €1 million, $1 million with Igel. It's really fun to see that happen, especially in this economic climate, to see people saving that kind of money. So I want to share a story with you. I've been with Igel for 7 years. I joined in right around this time in 2016. And at that time, there was probably a half a dozen employees, a few dozen customers. We were pretty much unknown, right? And so I had the privilege of traveling around the country and trying to convince people to take a chance on this little German company they'd never heard of. And in the end of 2017, I found myself here in Nashville. There was a customer that was kind enough to take a chance on us, DISRUPT23. I don't know if some of you know, they're not too far from here, actually. And we'd won a deal with them. And so we finished that meeting with their CIO, and our rep, Russ Smith, said, hey, I got a surprise for you. I'm going to take you to the largest hospital in the world. We just lost a deal with them. And I thought, wow, this is going to be an interesting phone call, a call with these guys, right? So we're driving over there. And on the way there, he starts explaining to me that this place loves Dell, right? That the CIO golfs with Michael Dell, and that he texts with Michael Dell, and that they're just all in on Michael Dell, right? And so Dell. And so we're pulling into the parking lot of the building where HCA's IT team is headquartered, and I see that it's One Dell Parkway, and that the building for HCA is actually cohabitated in the Dell building, right? And I'm thinking, this is really going to be an interesting call, right? So long story short, we got a meeting with their chief technologist, who I think was just sort of intrigued by this little German company. And so we started talking to him, and he started explaining, well, there's these certain Dell devices, the new ones that they just come out with, that were the 3040s, they were resetting. And so we immediately set to work on trying to fix the problem with software, right? And about a month later, we had fixed it, and they put it in some of these hospitals in North Carolina. And I'm happy to say that this company, HCA, has now become one of our biggest customers. And I was flying out here, and our new owner, the chairman of or the TA partner, called me and he said, wouldn't it be great to have HCA on the stage, right? So literally on a Friday, I called HCA and said, hey, would you mind coming up and telling the rest of this story for everybody, right? And so I called Dave Cozen, who runs the whole EUC department, and he did what every good leader should do, is he said, I want to have the guy who actually manages the Igel come up on the stage and tell his story. So I'd like to bring that person up here right now. His name is Todd Bates, and he's going to fill you in on the rest of this story. So Todd, welcome to the stage. Got a mic for you? Oh, they gave you one. Come on.
That's the scariest part of the whole thing.
It is. Good to see you, Todd. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really a wonderful city, growing quickly, and you are part of something very special here in Nashville. Tell us a little bit about HCA and what you do there.
HCA, we're a Nashville-based healthcare organization, we have upwards to 185,000 185 facilities across the United States and some in London.
Amazing. And I heard you have 250,000 employees. They're not all here in Nashville,
Yeah,
but that's
that ballpark when you include all the facilities and the clinicians, et cetera.
Yep. And so you're kind of a rookie at HCA. I heard 23 years.
23 years, most of the time in data and analytics. I came over to this team in May, so this has been a whole new world for me. It's been very exciting.
Yeah, well, you got to chase the new shiny thing, right? So tell us a little bit about how you're using Igel today and the use case.
So we have about 50,000 devices across our facilities. That's a lot. We're shooting to get up to 70,000. And they're used mostly in the clinicians, nurses, and physicians, and it's been a very successful experience with us.
So I know when we talked, you said you originally, obviously, we resurfaced a lot of these Dell devices. But talk a little bit about your strategy for the 70,000 devices in terms of how you're thinking about standardization and.
Standardization is very important. So when we first started, there was a lot of variation across the different facilities out there, a lot of different device types, a lot of different versions of Igel. And so back in May, one of the things we wanted to do was try to land on a platform that we could, I guess you'd call it future-proof it, right? We wanted to make sure it was going to be stable and that it was going to have some longevity to it. And so we landed on a HP product. It was the T540. It's been very successful for us. And then with the 11.8.200 and up, it's been extremely successful for us. So we have a very stable platform, and so we have more and more facilities asking, when can we start migrating some other machines over to Igel?
Love to hear that.
Yeah, so do we.
Yeah, so how many people does it take for your team to manage this 50,000 Igel?
Oh gosh, a ton. I have 2.
I got worried there for a second.
So we're very excited. We actually had one for a long time, and then we
got to have a backup.
We had to have a backup, right? They couldn't take vacation. So out in the field, there are IT folks who work out in the field, and so they would be like your level 1 support. But when it comes to the level 3 support, administrating the product, doing all the testing, et cetera, it's 2 people.
So what do you think the largest benefit, other than just having a couple people manage Igel, is for HCA?
Well, uptime is everything in the facility. And so we're on with Microsoft, we're on a monthly patching cycle. And so as you can imagine, besides all the back-end servers, 50,000 devices, that's a lot of patching, that's a lot of downtime. And we just can't afford the downtime. Besides the fact that it's patient impacting, which is the main thing, it interferes with the clinician work, and it's very expensive. And so when we moved to Igel, we don't have to worry about that. It's done on the back end, not on the device. So,
can you talk a little bit about the security benefits? We've came to the rescue of a number of pretty large hospitals over COVID, and I know ransomware is a big issue for a lot of hospitals. How do you see the security part of it?
So ransomware is a very big concern with facilities. Certainly, it is with ours. One of the benefits, I think one of your folks on the video talked about it, is if something were to happen and a device gets compromised, assuming the back-end infrastructure is in place, you just turn the machine off, boot it, and put another image on there. If somehow or another the device gets compromised, while we're waiting for a standard device to show up, we can pick pretty much any other device and get us up and running again while we're waiting. So rapid response, that's what it's all about.
It's awesome. All right, well, so I know you haven't seen Cosmos yet, but what really excites you about the future of Igel and kind of get into 70,000, and beyond?
Well, in our space, what we're really excited about is getting to the 70,000. But if you go to a facility and you see those big display boards up there, tracker boards, we call them, we've had over 1,500 tracker boards across our organization start to use Igel, and that's becoming a standard across the organization. So we see a lot more tracker boards coming on board using Igel. So we have that going. And then our new team, very inventive people, we've been asking the question, what next? What happens beyond tracker boards? We're starting to think of use cases where knowledge workers could use the product, folks in accounting, business folks, et cetera, et cetera. And so we just see an unlimited unlimited opportunity with this.
Good. You can be part of helping us attack those 500 million enterprise fat PCs out there.
Count us in.
All right. Thank you so much, Todd. Appreciate it. So, as you just heard, OS 11 is good, but let's talk about being great. And when I was in college, I worked as a waiter in San Francisco, putting myself through school, and a famous place called Perry's. And if you ever walk into Perry's, there's this huge poster in the front of it that's hung there all those years. And it says, "To be good is not enough when you dream of being great." Right? And so I still think about this poster, and I think this is an idea that really drives us here at Igel. We're definitely good, right? But we want to be great. And maybe we're not a unicorn, but I think maybe we could be a new category, right? It's even more rare, a rainbow striped zebra. So, what would great look like right now at Igel? It would look like this special image that I got from Midjourney AI. Very rare spaceship. And this is really what we've been doing over the last few years with Matthias and the team at Augsburg, right? Is we saw where the puck was going, and we've been working really hard on building something that we think meets the moment, right? Something that can revolutionize this category, something that's even more secure, even easier to manage, even easier to onboard. And so you're going to see some of that here shortly. But before we go to outer space, I actually want to talk to you about something that should be near and dear to all of you in this room, and that's Mother Earth. So back in 2016, when I joined the company, we worked on our vision together, and we came up with this: to transform the way the world works, creating better outcomes for people, organizations, and the planet. Better outcomes. Better than we found it. I think my mom would be very proud. But how do we do this? And how do we do this together specifically? Well, we do it by intersecting this sort of terrible, wasteful, 3-year PC refresh. And I know there's some companies out there that even have shorter time frames on some of the hardware that they have, right? And I grew up in Northern California around a lot of hippies, and it was all about the 3 R's. And it starts with the first one is reduce, right? Second one, reuse, and the third one, recycling. And it's in that order, right? And so in the era of the cloud PC, I would say we should be able to get 8 years out of a device, maybe even 10 years, right? And so what does that mean? Less waste, less materials, happier Earth, and much happier CFOs. And so at Igel, we have this sustainability committee that we formed, and they're doing some amazing things. And I'm sure all of your organizations have sustainability initiatives, and they're thinking about this. And this team is super energized. They meet every week, and they're even thought about this event, right? Things we could do to make this event more sustainable. So please roll this video so we can show you some of the things and how we think about sustainability at Igel. It's just amazing when you think about in your lifetime, some of the precious metals that we use to build laptops and these devices, there literally isn't going to be any left in the ground, right? So we need to think about how we're going to do this differently. And I think that's part of one of the things we want to talk about. So I want to share with you another customer story. You briefly heard from him in the first video that I showed you on the customers, but I thought since he was here, we should bring him up here and talk to you, have him tell his story. So please welcome to the stage Jim Davis. Jim. Welcome.
Good, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Welcome to Nashville, fellow California.
Yes.
Saw you got here a little early too. You been having some fun?
Want to avoid all the weather that Nashville has that California doesn't.
Right. So tell us a little bit about UCI Health and what your role is there.
Sure. So UCI Health is Orange County, California's only level 1 trauma center. 450 beds providing critical care for 3 million plus throughout Orange County. So my job as the leader, CTO for UC Irvine Health is all infrastructure, security, biomedical engineering, as well as end user computing. So why I'm here.
Pretty big remit. That's great. So I assume being in California that UCI and being part of the University of California has a sustainability initiative. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So as part of the state of California, we have 8% reduction year over year, in our carbon footprint as well as power consumption. So we're doing everything we possibly can to find ways to reduce power from the data center, end user computing, as well as, how do I have less staff and vehicles on the road, providing support for all of Orange County.
And are you able to track some of those savings at this point?
Absolutely. I mean, we've got boxes, within every data center, within every building. So we're actually able to watch our data center go from over 450 kilowatts down to 200 kilowatts by just getting rid of a lot of this equipment that was powering all of our end user computing.
Yeah, well, we just came from Europe, right, where in January they initiated a new law that says if you have 500 employees or more, you actually have to start reporting back. So kind of like data and GDPR, they're a little ahead of us, but I think you can see California is trailing in terms of the sustainability initiatives there. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you're using Igel, and I know the whole ecosystem's here, your partner that you buy product from E360 is here. So tell us a little bit about kind of how you're leveraging this beautiful ecosystem to deliver end user compute solutions for the hospital.
Yeah. So with E360, thank you to all of the team there, Team LP, Mike. We're, as you can see here, we opened up a few clinics within the last few months, and with LG, we were able to deploy a lot of these solutions that really kind of revolutionized what we were doing, being able to tap in with Improvata, instantaneous desktops. So as the clinicians went from room to room, it's a much better experience for them. We're also saving a ton in power. I mean, this is a LEED Platinum building, so we're able to actually have devices here that are consuming far less power than we have at our medical center, reducing the needs for large generators, diesel storage, et cetera, throughout all of our campus.
That's great. So I know all the hospitals were under a little bit of strain during the last few years. How did Igel help you through the COVID time? So,
obviously, if you go back to those dark days, early days of COVID, we were asked to send everybody home. Even in the hospitals, we had to separate all of our clinicians. They couldn't be within 6 feet of each other. So we had to find ways to
we can get closer now. So
okay. Yeah. Good. No masks anymore. So we were able to repurpose devices. We had a bunch of Igel devices that were used for training or labs. We were taking those right out of those lab areas and putting them in areas that had no network, barely any power. We were really pressing the outlets there. So with Igel, a lot less power consumption. So we were able to start standing up, clinics within clinics to help take care of the patients.
And like Todd, are you seeing any new use cases for Igel?
Absolutely. While we did send a lot of users home, about 40% of our users, I don't think the E360 team knows this, but I'm going to ask them here pretty soon. Is how do I start getting these devices to people at home? If rather than have to ship laptops that are bulky, expensive, how do I send these all-in-one devices? What solutions are there to send everybody home, as well as now start moving into our inpatient units so that we can again lower power. I don't need a whole bank of batteries everywhere to power these guys, less power consumption.
Yeah, those batteries are expensive too, right?
Yeah, so how do is all the CFOs in the room, I can save money and then reduce power, better clinician experience.
Well, Jim, thank you for being here.
No problem. Thank you, Jed.
Yeah, have a good show. I wish I could have all of you come up and tell your stories, but we don't have time for that. I do want to talk just a little bit about this trees initiative, right? We, as you saw in the video, Igel is saying yes to trees this year, right? And we asked all our vendors not to bring the cheap swag that they hand out that you have to take home that you give to your kids or your dog. But why did we do this? The world actually used to have 6 trillion trees. It's a lot of trees. There's only 3 trillion left. And so one of the things that the World Economic Forum has looked at is that, hey, if we planted 1 trillion more trees, that could really help with the global climate situation. It would dramatically reduce the CO2. It would help with animal species, soil erosion, and water quality. And so we thought, wow, this would be great. So we tracked them down and we joined alongside some other kind of sterling tech companies to join this initiative, right? And we had a goal of planting 20,000 trees. We got to about 12,000 in Europe, and I figured, just like I thought you guys could get here at 8 o'clock in the morning. I know Americans are very generous, and I've seen it already. Thank you to Henning, who I think this morning put down 1,000 trees. Thank you, Henning from ESOP. And last week I was preparing for this with Hector, and he put 1,000 trees down. So thank you to Hector at Citrix. So I looked this morning, and I think we're actually at like 13,000. So thank you to everybody that's participated. You can donate, and you can go to this igel.com/trees. I'd love to see us press past the 20,000 trees by the end of this show. You probably wonder, like, where are all these trees going? And so we picked a location in the Yucatan Peninsula that was like totally deforested in the 1950s, and they have this is actually a video of where it is. They have 150 people that are working there year round. They're planting native trees from seed. They can plant up to 40,000 trees in one day. And so they've planted over 10 million trees in this location. And Igel hopes to do our part, a small part here together, planting trees and leaving it better. We have a far ways to go to get up with Salesforce. They've planted 44 million trees, I think, if you look on the tree counter. So pretty amazing story out of our friends there in San Francisco. So trees, not swag. So we're also excited to have a partner here that really cares about sustainability, and it's Computers for Community. It's a nonprofit that was started by Andy of Zentegra, and it's run by a wonderful gentleman named Mike Dunn. And they have a session tomorrow morning early, and I would ask you all to join us early for this important topic, and you won't want to miss it. And they're getting in on planting the trees. And when I talked to Mike about this, and we talked about his booth, he's like, look, anyone who comes and talks to me about this, I'll plant a tree. So if you want to do your part for the planet, go see Mike in his booth, and he'll plant a tree for you and give you a sticker. So thank you for doing that, Mike. So I want to leave you with this. I think values are very important, right? Especially at this time where we have all these people that are sort of joining companies that may not ever see their employer for a long time, right? And you're working remotely. So I think understanding values, living values, this is an important part of leading a company. And I'm really proud to say that I think Igel has a sterling set of values, and we do live them, and we do talk about them all the time. And when I took the torch from our founder in 2020, we spent about a year talking about how this company had gotten where we are today. And these 4 key values, and it goes like this. If you live your life with integrity, you can build trust. And if you have trust, you can call that a partnership. And in tech, if you have a great partnership, you can unleash a lot of innovation, right? And so that was sort of the core to what we believed in and what got us here. And when I took that stage and talked about what I wanted to add to that, I added this idea of believe, right? Which is this idea that you can dream big, and if you work together, anything can happen, and nothing's really out of reach. And then we also talked about in a selfie world where it's me, hey, we want to lead with this idea of a servant heart, right? Where you put yourself selflessly in to help your customers, your partners, and your fellow employees. So these are the values that have shaped us and continue to drive us. And I certainly hope when you talk to our team and you interface with our team, you feel these values, because we take this very seriously. So I'm going to leave you with this. We're super honored that you all joined us in this room. There's close to 1,000 people here this week. And I know it's spring break, it's Passover, it's Easter, it's very tight in terms of budget out there in T&E. So we're really honored that you found a way to spend these days with us. And we're not going to let you down, right? We look forward to the next few days together. I hope you get a huge amount out of this event and the time together. And I'm confident that together, we're going to reshape this industry. So thank you so much.